Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this Kumihimo braid by using Super Duos and RounDuos. And then I've combined them so it looks like this. So this is your finished bracelet, and I've just chosen some blue colours in the cord and the Super Duos, and then just the gold colour in the RounDuos to make it more of a feature running down the centre. And then this is how the bracelet looks. So you have two separate Kumihimo braids, and then I've put them together using the beads. So if you want to learn how to make that, then keep watching. And here are the things that we're going to need. Now we'll need our round Kumihimo disc for this because we're making a basic 8-strand round braid. And then in this case, I'm also going to be using a weight. Now for most of the braids that I normally do, I don't use a weight because I don't find it necessary. But for this, I really do recommend it. But what I will say is this is a quite specifically made Kumihimo weight. And you can obviously use this. And what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description box to where you can find one of these if you don't have one already. And this is a 45-gram weight, but if you don't have this and if you don't want to get one, you can quite easily just make up your own thing. So have a little bag or something, maybe an organza bag, put some coins or some small stones in it and make up your own weight. It's just so you have something to use to help you pull your braid down, and it's going to help make it a lot more even as well. And the reason that I'm using a weight with this braid is mainly because of the type of cord that I'm using. And this is an s-lon cord, and it's about 0.4 mil in thickness. And it's just because we're doubling up the cord to make the braid a little bit thicker than just using one strand. But I'm going to be showing you that as we go. But it's just to help make the braid a lot more even. And the colour that I chose for the cord is just a turquoise, because I thought that would go nicely with the colour choice of my beads. And as for the beads that I'm using, we're using two different kinds here. They both got 2 holes, and these are Super Duos. And this is just like a dark blue colour, and I thought that would go nicely. So a different tone of blue than the cord. And then this is RounDuo beads, and this colour is just Aztec gold, because I have 2 different tones of blue, and then with the gold I thought it would be quite nice as well. And again, this is just a regular round bead, but with 2 holes as well. And this is fairly new, and it's exclusive to the Potomac Bead Company. So if you're interested in how to get these, I'll put a link to their website in the description box, so you can have a look there. And then I've also got some ribbon ends here, and we need these to finish off the bracelet at the end. And the size of these are just 20 mil in size, and they'll fit just fine with the bracelet that we're going to make. And then the final piece that I've got here is I just have quite a large needle, and it's just to help me use later on as we go. It's not to make the Kumihimo, but it's to put the Kumihimo together basically. So it's just a large enough needle for your cord to be able to go through the hole in the needle basically, or the eye. That's the only reason that the needle is so large, but you can just use whatever needle you have as long as the cord will go through the eye of it. And then obviously we'll also just need some findings, so some jump rings and lobster claw clasp and extended chain, or otherwise what else you prefer to use. So get all your materials together and then let's get started. So to get started, the first thing I'm going to do is cut all my lengths of cord, and what I have here is 8 lengths of 1 meter each. And now what you'll find is what we need to do is we need to double these over, so make sure they're all together at the end here, and then we'll find the middle, put the 2 ends together like this, and then up here is roughly the middle. And now what I'm going to do is just tie a knot up here, because at the moment we have 8 lengths of 1 meter each, so when we double this over we're going to get 16 lengths of 50 centimeters each. And those are going to be our working cords for the Kumihimo. But what that means as well is we get 2 of our cords in each slot. So instead of just working with 1 cord per slot, we have 2, as if it was just 1 cord. And that's how we're going to achieve a little bit of a thicker braid, even though we're using this thin cord, because that's kind of the look that I want it to achieve. But I need to use this cord in order to really be able to go through my beads. So I've just tied a regular overhand knot like this. And we have the cords ready, so now what we need to do is attach them to the board. So then I just get my Kumihimo disc out, and then what we need to do is this knot that we have is about the middle of our cords. This needs to go down through the center of our disc. So just hold it like this for now, and then we need to just distribute all the cords. So I'm taking 2 at a time. You can see I've got 2 here. They're going to be working as 1, and then I'm just going to be putting them around the dots on the disc, so don't worry about the numbers. Take 2, put it around the top dot. So you have 2 cords in each slot on each side here. and then we need another 2 around the side dot here, and then the rest of them distributed around the rest of the dots. So remember to always have 2 in each slot, like that. And the last 4, get 2 together and put it around the bottom dot as well, like so. And then just adjust it so your knot is in the middle there. So that's how we're going to set up the cords on our disc. And then what I'm going to do, because the next step now is to start the braid, I'm going to get my weight. So this is just the crocodile weight, like this. So just use this, the teeth, and then just go underneath and attach that to your cord. And it's really nice and strong, so it'll hold itself on there quite nicely. And obviously if you have something else, you can just tie something around that knot and then hang it from underneath your disc. So now that weight is going to help pull your braid through. It's going to be a little bit easier to work with, but also we kind of need that weight there to make sure that this braid gets nice and even. And then all I do now is we need to do a little section of this braiding without beads to begin with. And this is just a basic 8-strand braid. So all I do is take the top left one, bring it down over everything else, stay on the left side of the bottom here, and take the bottom right one and bring it up over everything else and stay on the right side of the top. And you can see your cord had just moved a little bit away from the dot. And then I turn the disc and do the same thing, the top left one, bring it down, stay on the left side, and then the bottom right one, bring it up and stay on the right side, like that. And again, those are just moved away from the dot a little bit. And then we turn it again, and you just keep going like this for a little bit until you have this little section of cord. Now I'm doing it this way. This is just what comes natural to me. I take my top left one and go down, and then my bottom right one and go up. You might find that you do Kumihimo in a different way. You take the top right one and go down, or you start from the bottom and go up. Either way, that's completely fine. You just do whatever's comfortable to you. It'll still work out the same. And obviously just make sure as well, it doesn't matter what way you turn your disc, as long as you kind of stay consistent with that. So what we need to do is do a little section, like I said, of just braid. And you can just either do it by eye, so say when you feel like it's long enough, or what you can do as well is count the amount of times you cross over your cords, or the amount of times you turn your disc. So let's just say this was the beginning. Turn my disc, that's 1. My next crossover, turn my disc, that's 2. And then you can say if you want to do it 15 times or 20 times to get the specific length that you want. So that's completely up to you, or you can just do it by eye, because you can always cut a bit off at the end if it's too long. So just keep doing this for a little while, and then we'll start adding in the beads. So now that I've done a little section of my braiding, what I need to do is add in my first bead. And I'm not going to preload my beads onto this because we're only using beads in specific places throughout to achieve the look that we want. So there's no reason really to load up all your strands with beads. I'm just going to put them on as we go. So this is my next one that I'm due to take. But what I'm going to do before I just take them is put my bead onto one of the cords. As you can see, so you just put one of your lengths of cord from that slot through your Super Duo in this case. That's what I'm using now. I put on the Super Duos here, because the Super Duos are the ones we're going to be incorporating directly into the braid. So put that on just one length of cord through one hole, and then I release, let the bead drop all the way down, just like you would do a normal bead at Kumihimo, and then tuck it in if it doesn't go in by itself, right underneath the cords there in the middle, and then just continue, and then take the bottom one, if you do it like me, and continue your braid. So what you've done now is added the bead. So this is the set where we added the bead. So what I'm going to do now is count the turns that I do to know when I'm going to add in my very next bead. So in this case that means this is my next pair, so this is where I start counting. So this is 1, and then turn it, and this is 2. So when I've done one full pair, that's 1 count. Then the third one here, 3, So every time I put in my second cord of that pair, that's when I count. 5, 6, 7, 8, and the last one, 9. So this is 9 turns we've done now. So move on to the next pair, and again this is now where you want to add in your bead. So you want to count 9 times, and then on the 10th, if you want to include that number, that's where you want to add in your bead to this pair. And again, I always do it to the top one. So I'll grab these 2 cords. That's going to be the next pair that I bring down. Get one Super Duo out, add it onto one length of cord from the same slot, and then let it drop down, and as release the cord, tuck that bead right down all the way underneath everything else, and then continue. Finish this pair off where you just added your bead. So don't count that, because now you add your next bead, and what you'll find is if you look from the side that your 2 beads now are sitting straight on top of each other on the braid. So if you can see that here, we have our 2 beads sat straight on top of each other but on the same side of the braid. So that's what we need to do throughout the whole piece. We need all the beads to sit above each other, basically with a space in between, all the way up on the same side of the braid. So all you need to do now is continue this. So this was the pair we just added the beads, so I turn, and then the next one, this is going to be the first count we do. So do another 9 turns. That's 1. Turn it. That's 2. Keep going like this for 9 times until you reach the spot again where you need to add your bead. So I've now counted 9 times, and I've again reached the point where this top left one is the one I'm due to take. I need to add a bead to that. And what I just want to kind of give you a hint, if you lose track, if you're counting and you lose count as you go, another way you can kind of keep an eye on where you need to add your bead is, in my case, I'm adding it to this every time. So this is the next one that I'm due to take. So once you've had a couple of beads added to the braid, like here, you can see how much spacing in between. So you can roughly see this is the one. If I lost count now, I could see this is the one we need to add it, because once I pull this cord over, the bead will sit the same way right on top of the other ones that the ones do now, in exactly the same place if you look from above. But also it's pretty much the same spacing as between the previous 2 beads. So if you do lose track, that's another way to just kind of try and catch when you need to add that bead in, instead of undoing things and redoing it. So this is the case where I need to add the bead. I drop it all the way down and let it sit there. And don't worry too much about how they sit, as long as you tuck them in underneath your cord. And then just continue, finish that one, and then we start counting again from this pair. So you just want to do this for a while. Add in however many beads you need to add for it to be long enough. And then once you've finished adding all your beads to achieve the length that you need your bracelet to be, then I'll show you what we do next. So I've now kept going with my braid, and I've added as many beads as I feel I need to make it long enough. And then this is how it's going to end up looking. So you have all your beads here sticking out on one side of your braid. And then what I've done as well is up here, I've just continued the braiding a little bit without beads, so to make the same as we did at the other end, just a little spacing with no beads so we can finish it off properly. So you just want to roughly measure so they're the same length here. So now we need to finish off the end. But what you'll find as well is you might find that your braid here twists a little bit with the beads on. Don't worry too much about that if that's the case, because it'll all get put into place once we put the 2 pieces together. So now what we need to do is finish off this end. And this is just to secure it in place so we can take it off the board and then completely finish off the ends and get rid of the excess cord. So what I'm going to do is, this was the last pair that I just did. So I'm actually going to go to the other one. So these 2 on the sides now. And then what I'm going to do is take 2 cords that are straight opposite each other. So these 2 first. on the top side of the disc, and then put them across the middle and tie just a regular overhand knot like this across the middle there, and then tighten that down. I'm just putting my cords back in to get them out of the way, and then I'm taking the other two underneath from the same pair, doing the same thing, tying a knot like this across the middle, and then when you tighten that, that knot will lie right next to the other one, going across the middle of the braid, and then just put them back in to get them out of the way. And then I'm going to move over to the other ones, so the other pair, do the exact same thing, grab two across from each other, tie them across the middle, like that, and the last two, again do the same thing. So these knots are now going to lie right on top of the ones we just made with the previous pair, but these two will also lie right next to each other. So that way we're securing the end, and then what I can do is take it off the board, like that, without our braid coming undone. And so what I'm going to do now is just get a bit of glue, and I just like to use my GS Hypo Cement for this. You can also just use the same glue that you're going to be using to put on your ribbon ends when you're done with the bracelet. But I just like using this because it has a really fine tip, so you can really get in there with the glue. And you just want to glue around where your cords are coming out, just to secure the ends in place, and then once it's dry, you want to cut off the ends. So then once you've done that, it's going to look a little bit something like this. So you can see quite a nice and neat finish. You don't have a whole lot sticking out, but it's nice and secure because you put a bit of glue on there. And then there you have the first side ready completely. So what you need to do now is do another one just like this. So the same length, the same amount of beads on there, and then just do the exact same thing. And then once you have that ready, we need to move on to the next step. So now that you have both of them ready and you've made them about the same, as you can see, don't worry about if they twist a little bit. You can see mine are, but that'll be corrected once we start putting them together. So what we need to do now is actually get out our needle, and then also get some more cord. I'm just using the same cord that I used for the actual Kumihimo braid. I just find you might as well use the same thing because it'll go through the beads because we've already used it for these. And I've just taken about 30 to 40 centimeters of this. It doesn't need to be that long, just enough to work with. So we need two lengths of this. So what I'm going to do is just start working with one of them. So we're just starting with the one, and then get one length of your cord out as well that you cut. And now we need to start attaching this to the center piece we're going to use. And this is where we're going to use the RounDuo beads. In this case I'm just using the gold ones because I thought that would look nice with the blue and gold. But what we need to do first is attach this cord to the braid. So what I'm just going to do is tie it around the end here. Just make a simple knot, because it's just to secure it in place first of all, right towards the end, like that. And then you might just want to do this a couple of times. Like so. And then you can always put just a little bit of glue on that knot just to hold it in place so it won't come undone while you're working with it. So now that you have your cord attached on the end here, it's now time to get the needle out, and we just need to put this needle on the cord so we can just work our way through the braid, because obviously you need a needle of some sort to do that. And then I'm going to put my cord onto that through the needle. But what I will just get a little hint is if you struggle getting this cord through the eye on your needle, obviously you need to make sure that the eye is big enough to take the cord. But if you struggle a little bit, what you can do is just singe the end, just like you would do with many other projects. And then once it's hardened again, which it does almost instantly, just take your flat nose pliers and then just squeeze it down so it's nice and flat, and then it will go straight through. Like that, straight onto your needle. And that's just a tip on how to thread it. So now we need to just work our way so our cord is in the right place to start attaching the other beads. And then what I want to do is take my needle here and then just go into the braid, pretty much from where it's coming out from the knot where you attached it, So go into your braid about the middle of the braid, and you just want to make your way up through the middle there until you kind of come out just before your first bead. Just do this nice and gently. Make your way through. And there, it's coming out now. Like so. And you can always just take some pliers to help pull your needle through. So obviously it's a bit of a tight braid and stuff, so but it'll go through. And then just put all the cord through, all the cord, like that. This is just basically to hide it. And then it's coming out right there in front of your first bead. And now what we need to do is start going through our beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take my needle back off again, because the needle that I was using, it won't go through the beads. It was just to get the cord into position. But if you're not comfortable just working without a needle, you can always put on a smaller one, as long as you make sure it's going to go through the beads. But you will be able to do this as well, and you can always singe the end and then roll it between your fingers to make a bit of a needle out of the actual cord, and just make sure it goes through that way. So what I'm going to do is then come up when my cord is coming out, and then go through the top hole of my Super Duo, so the very first one on the braid here, just the one, and then pull your cord all the way through, so it sits like this on that side, and it'll kind of just blend in because it's the same cord we're using, it'll just be part of it. And then I'm going to grab my first RounDuo bead and go through one of the holes on that, and let it drop down. And then what you can see is that's going to sit in between there. So I'm going to go through my next Super Duo. You can always move them a little bit while you're working with it, like that. And then when you pull that, it's going to slot into place, and then your RounDuo is going to sit right there in between your Super Duos. And then you want to just keep working your way all the way across, adding a RounDuo in between each Super Duo, all the way down to the other end. And then you want to do the same thing down here, just go into your braid, down to the end, and then finish off this cord with a knot down here as well. And again, you can just put a bit of glue on there. So you want to just do that all the way down here, and then once you've done that, we need to add the other side of it. So once you've gotten all the way down to the other end, adding all the RounDuos between your Super Duos, and you've used your needle to come back down through the braid to the end here, what I just want to say you need to do before you tie the end off is you need to just pull this nice and tight, so there's no spacing in between your beads of cord really, so all your beads sit nice and tight together. So you just want to make sure to do that before you tie it off, and obviously tie it off so it's nice and tight like this, and then we can start on the other side. So I've now added my other cord here onto my other piece of braiding with my Super Duos on there. I got into the position for the first bead, just like we did on the previous one. So now what we need to do is thread through this first one again, just like before. But then what we need to do is bring in the one we've already prepared, and then instead of going through the individual RounDuos, we need to go through the ones that were already attached. So we take the first one, we lie it right next to each other, and then go through the first one here. So we go through the very first RounDuo on this one that we already created partly, and then you don't have to pull them tight right away, because if anything they'll actually give you a bit less space to work with. And then go back through the next Super Duo, and then go back through the next Super Duo, like that. And you can pull a bit tight if you want to, but you don't have to pull all the way tight like I said, just because it will give you less space to work with, and it'll just make it a bit easier, because you can pull it tight right at the end. Go through the next RounDuo. So we're going through the RounDuos, the outside holes, because like I said, the RounDuos have two holes as well, just like the Super Duos. So that's why on one side they're attached to this side of to this braid, and on the other side of the Super Duo, or the RounDuo, sorry, the hole that we haven't used yet, that's what we're using to go through now to attach this braid. So it's going to end up being one piece this way by stitching the two Kumihimo braids together using 2-hole beads. So you just keep doing this all the way down until you reach the end, and then again you do the same thing, finish off this cord that you're using now. Obviously pull it tight once you get there and then tie it off just like we did on this end. So I've now gone all the way down, as you can see, zigzag between the Super Duos, the RounDuo, Super Duo, RounDuo, all the way down here till I reach the last Super Duo. And then I just want to show you, when you tighten it up, you just keep hold of your braid and your beads here down at this end, and then you just pull your cord through so the whole thing tightens up. And it's almost like a zipper, as you can see. And it just pulls all your beads together so they sit nice and neat like this. So now, like I said, all you want to do is then finish this cord off the same way. Get your needle back on, just put it through your braid down to the end, and then finish it off the same way. Put a bit of glue on, and then cut all your loose ends off, the shorter ones at the beginning as well, like that. So now that you've finished off the ends with your excess cord, you'll have a piece that looks something like this. So your two Kumihimo braids, and then with your beads in the center to bring them together. Now you might find that it still can twist a little bit. It is now one piece, so it's twisting a lot less. What you can always do is just leave it overnight under something heavy, and then it'll stay in shape a lot more. Or just kind of twist it the opposite way for a little bit, and that'll help as well. Otherwise, when you wear it, it'll stay in place, so it'll sit like this. And then what we need to do now, all that's left, is finish off the ends here. And all I'm going to do for that is just grab my ribbon end, and this is the 20mm one. It's going to fit perfectly in here, and we need to place this on. And I've got a video to show how to use this already, so I'm going to link that in the description box so you can have a look at that. You just want to put a bit of glue in there and then clamp it down over the ends. The only difference is on here you're putting two round ones inside. Now what you might find is you just need to use your flat nose pliers to squeeze down your ends here to flatten them out a little bit, just so they'll fit in there a bit more easily, like that. And then you just place them, after you put a bit of glue in there, place them inside like this, and then clamp it down. But like I said, I'll put a link in the description box to that. And you want to do that on both ends, and then attach whatever clasp you want, an extended chain possibly, and then you'll have your finished bracelet. So then when you've attached both your ribbon ends here and put your clasp and extended chain, if that's what you're using on, then this is your final bracelet. And it looks like this. And you can obviously adjust the size however you want to. It is adjustable with the extended chain, but the actual main part as well. But in this case, I used 22 Super Duos in each braid that I did. So they're running down the sides. So in total that makes 44. And then the RounDuos in the middle, I used 21 of them. And you can obviously then take some out or add some more, depending how long you want your bracelet to be. But then also, you can obviously change out the colours however you want to. I just chose the blue tones in the cord and the Super Duos, and then the RounDuos are gold, just to make it more of a feature, running down the centre there. So this is your finished bracelet. So I really hope that you enjoyed this, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make these triple row macrame bracelets. Now there's quite a few different ways of making triple row macrame bracelets, and this is probably one of the easiest ones. It's really simple. You use quite a few beads for these, and then the effect you get is really nice, almost like the pattern type thing you get. So if you want to learn how to make these,